That's right, I am Bree. I am a United States Air Force veteran. Joined the Air Force to see the world, and I got mountain home fucking Idaho. Yeah. And I have been married for 20 years. Plot twist, to a man. Yeah, and we have a shit ton of kids together. Yeah, and I mean, in our defense, there's not much to do in mountain home fucking Idaho. It's either meth or procreate. And we both like our teeth, so we had a shit ton of kids. And by a shit ton of kids, I mean 10 kids. I know, holy Jesus. Not all of them have our DNA. Okay, all right. So we also are foster parents. Thank you, Jesus. That's so good. I just didn't stand up here and get this platform. But we also failed at being a foster parent. We've adopted 2. Yeah. Oh, thank you. Yeah. So we have a shit ton of kids. And I love being a parent. Obviously, that would be awkward if I didn't. And when my way of relaxing and my zen place is working in one of the busiest ERs in the nation. Yeah, that's my happy place. And my husband's super supportive about it. At first, he was a little concerned about the amount of penis I saw on a daily basis. But after I told him I saw more innies than outies, he accepted it. I didn't want to tell him about the time, but I'm going to tell him, because he's right here, the creepy guy. So there was one time that you see, when somebody comes in and they are unconscious, we do have to strip them and flip them and check them out, right? Well, this patient woke up. And unfortunately for me, I got stuck at the legs to hold him down. And I had already stripped him. And that ding-a-ling was out there, flopping around, and I'm holding on to his legs like this. Pray to God I don't get a mushroom stamp in the middle of my forehead. And then I had to look at my husband in the eye the next day and be like, I mean, I was really good. Like, I should be in a rodeo. But yeah, so we have a shit ton of kids. Because I work in the medical field, people think that that's the reason why I have to, do the birds and the bees talk with our kids. No, that's not the reason why. You see, when our kids were younger, my husband was supposed to take on this opportunity, if you will. And there was one day where my husband and I were practicing giving them a sibling when one of the kids walked in. Okay? And I was mortified. And I set my husband down to take care of the situation. And when he came back upstairs, he was like, it's all handled. And I was like, well, what'd you say? What'd you do? And they were like, he said, well, they asked me, what were you and Mommy doing? And he said, well, we were playing Power Rangers. And Mommy was the pink Power Ranger. And I was like, okay, not the method I would have gone with, but I mean, if they're happy with it, I'm happy with it. And it was great until like a week later, and I heard my son tell the neighbor girl, hey, you want to go up to my room and play Power Rangers? And I was like, no! And from that point on, no more birds and the bees conversations for him. And I've done pretty well too. I would have been concerned that my son shaved his pubes the night before homecoming. And just so you know, I wasn't the one that came to this realization. No, it was my daughters who found pubes all over the toilet seat. And as his mom, I was conflicted because I was like, well, shit, this is the kid that constantly I have to remind to brush his teeth and brush his hair, and for once he's grooming himself. But on the other hand, I'm like, I'm too fucking young to be a grandma. And I know I've done the birds and bees talk with him, but I stuffed that shit full of condoms. You pull the visor down, condoms in his car. Sorry, that shit, condoms. I was like, didn't cram it there. Stuffed his car full of condoms. And I'm really glad I did. Because I think my son lost his virginity in the church parking lot. Yeah, if that's not a new meaning to coming to Jesus, I don't know what else. Yeah. Now again, I wasn't the weird parent that came to this realization. No, I was 10 games deep into beer pong when I got this text message from his date's mom. Yeah, saying, do you know the kids left the dance early, and instead of coming straight home, they have been in the church parking lot for the last 2 hours? And I don't think she liked my response of, don't worry, we're not gonna be grandmas. I stuffed his car full of condoms. And 2 hours? That's like a teenage boy record. Yeah, but being a parent, I swear. And there's two kinds of parents in this world. There's the parents that are like super active in the school, PTA and all that shit. They do all the fancy, crafty Pinterest bullshit. And there's me. I don't volunteer for shit, and this is the reason why. A few years back, I don't know if you're aware of this, but the state of Washington legalized weed. Yes, thank you, Jesus. I know. And I was having problems sleeping. So I decided I was gonna go down to the local pot shop and get some indica strain. And I went in there and I told the guy what I was looking for, and he says, I got the stuff for you. It's these delicious chocolates. And he gives it to me. I go home, and that night, I pull out those chocolates. Now what's important to know is I have zero self-control. Especially when it comes to food, and when it's food that tastes delicious. So, I popped the first one, and I'm like, oh goddamn, that's some good chocolates. And then I was like, what's wrong with taking the second one? And I popped the second one. And there's only 3 in the pack, and I was like, for the love of God, you don't want to be left by yourself. So I popped the third one. A little bit later, my husband's like, so, how do you feel? And I'm like, I'm fucking pissed. I'm pretty sure the dude sold me some expensive-ass chocolates with 0 THC in it. And then the next morning, I woke up, and I was high as shit. Unfortunately for me, I was supposed to chaperone my kids' field trip. Yeah. The other thing about me is I follow through with what I say I'm gonna do. So I showed up at that school. I walked past a sign that said, drug-free zone, not that day. And I went to the classroom. And the teacher was like, oh, there you are. And I swear to God, every single eye looked right at me, and I was like, oh my God. And I was just about to turn my ass in to the law enforcement when all of a sudden this magical unicorn walked through the door. And it was one of my best friends, and I was like, oh my God, please tell me that you are chaperoning this field trip. And she said yes. And I was like, oh, I'm so fucking high. Can you please chaperone me? And she said yes. And for the rest of the day, my best friend chaperoned me while I chaperoned the rest of the school. But yeah, so I have never volunteered since then. And I'll leave you with one more thing that I've learned. My son, he had his blind friend come over the other day. And every time he comes over, he has my son walk him through the house, and so that he can take a mental note of where the furniture is. And this kid is blind, like shit's not attached back there, right? it would be a good idea to pull out the Xbox. And I'm like, how fucked up is my son that he wants to play Xbox with the blind kid? And then I'm like, I fucking suck at video games. I've never beat anyone with these sausage fingers. This is my chance. So I said, hey, you want to play a game of Mortal Kombat? And he was like, sure. And within 30 seconds, this motherfucker beats my ass. So the mature adult I am, I went out to the living room and I rearranged all the fucking furniture. His parents won't let him come over anymore.